What up, though, y'all? Welcome to another momentum episode of Les Nation. I'm your host, written, produced by Les Nation, y'all. If you love this channel, if you're feeling my channel, y'all, subscribe, y'all. This is like an unfiltered where I'm dealing with entertainment, politics, Christianity, just life. I'm like the ultimate life coach, y'all, on this unfiltered channel, y'all, the Les Nation. All right, y'all. It's obvious, y'all. I'm a Michael Jackson fan, y'all. Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, Jacksons. All three has what you call the Jackson. Believe it or not, y'all, the way the movie played his brothers, they made like his brothers were dead weight, which is not true at all. Before there was the king of pop, before there was Thriller, before there was Off the Wall, it was the Jackson 5. Then after the Jackson 5, it was the Jacksons. It just as time went on, yes, Michael did outgrow his brothers. But what I want to talk about is the whole how I did the history of the Michael versus Jermaine. What the media will try to say that these two brothers, Michael and Jermaine, was beefing way back then since Michael became the lead singer. That was not the case. Michael and Jermaine, even doing success, early success, Jermaine did not become jealous to Michael, but we're going to get to that part. But there was a time when Jermaine and Michael loved each other. They were like almost like best friends. Believe it or not, Michael once looked it up to Jermaine. I'm not talking about before the Jackson 5 success. I'm talking about after, even during the AB, the Motown era. Jermaine was not, at one time, Jermaine was not jealous of Michael. One time Jermaine was cool with being behind Michael, being co-lead. And if you think about it, y'all, the first number one hits, the first four number one hits, Jermaine was what you call the co-lead. I Want You Back. ABC, I mean, that was like Michael and Jermaine all the way through with a little Jackie in it, but it was Michael and Jermaine singing that song together. It wasn't just Michael, it was Jermaine too, y'all. Then, of course, The Love You Saved, Jermaine was co-lead on that one. And then, of course, I guess their best song, I'll Be There, Jermaine was co-leading big time on that song. So just wasn't, yes, Michael was actually the star down the line, but Jermaine did play an impact in that group. And then on top of that, Jermaine had some solo songs, on each Jackson 5 album. My favorite was Mama, I Think I Found That Girl. I love that song. That is, to me, the best non-Michael Jackson lead song was Mama, I Think I Found That Girl. In the beginning, y'all, Jermaine was, you know what? Jermaine, I'm going to just tell you this. I don't mean to get off topic. Man, somebody's smoking some helly weed outside, but that's another story. Or like I said, if you love my channel, subscribe, y'all, cause it's only gonna get better. Yes, this is unfiltered, this raw. Look at my face, it's raw, y'all. But getting back, y'all, like I said, Jermaine wasn't always a hater, y'all. He was, y'all laugh at Jermaine now. Y'all make fun of the hairstyle, the face, but women, especially black women, y'all, back in the 70s, all through the 70s, early 80s, y'all know y'all love y'all some Jermaine Jackson. Stop acting like y'all laughing at the dude, but y'all love that. Y'all love that ninja. Y'all used to have posters of Jermaine. You had Jermaine Jackson fan clubs. But I guess some of y'all asking like, how did the jealousy begin? When did the jealousy became place? When did Jermaine start developing, become a hater, yo? Well, Joe had nothing to do with that, y'all. It was Motown founder Berry Gordy. You know, he was divide and conquer. You know, before Berry Gordy put his 2 cents, them brothers, including Mike, all of them was, you know, that family was close. A proud black family. That's how, despite Joe being something else, the brothers kept it. They were a unit. They loved each other. They were always around each other. But what happened was, Jermaine started dating Hazel. And Berry Gordy, to surprise, even though he knew that Jermaine was a teen idol, he knew that, you know, Jermaine, because even back in the days, y'all, you know, teenage Jermaine, 15, 16, 17, Jermaine on the road, he was getting it in. Where everybody know Jermaine was getting it in with the women, y'all. But for some reason, Berry loved Jermaine. He won Berry Gordy over. He didn't mind him being with Hazel. And when he proposed to Hazel, not only Berry had got the blessings, gave him the blessings, he paid for it. I mean, that was especially back, that was one of the biggest weddings for a celebrity back then. Especially being black. I mean, that was worldwide attention. This, you know, and what it was something about that wedding, yo, that Jermaine started to get the big head. Because right before the wedding, you know, Michael and Jermaine both came out with solo albums. Michael came out with Got to Be There and Ben, which was a smash. Then Jermaine, even though Jermaine came out with Daddy's Home, which was his first, the song, it didn't do like Ben and Got to Be There, but it was a top 10 hit. So it was enough to Jermaine felt like, hey, he just had Daddy's Home, which was a hit. He about to marry Berry Gordy, the boss's daughter. And then Hazel started putting stuff at Jermaine ear, like telling Jermaine, like, you're the man. She started making, Hazel Gordy, I put it like this. Not only did she love Jermaine, she loved Jermaine. She thought she's the only woman who really thought that Jermaine could have been a bigger star than Michael. She thought, like, Jermaine, you the man, Jermaine. And Jermaine started feeling himself. He started thinking, yeah, I am the man, because right after they got married, because at one time Jermaine just had the afro. Then he started wearing his hair, looking like James Brown's nephew. Y'all remember he was the first one wearing that, with the hair, with the I guess getting his hair all loosened up, flying out like James Brown. And if you saw something right after this is during the Dancing Machine era, because if you saw some of the old Jackson 5 concerts, all of them used to wear the same uniforms. But Jermaine was start wearing different uniforms. Even back then he was starting to separate, because that's what Hazel wanted. And then what happened was, Joe, he was not happy with what was going on at Motown, because at that time, during the time when Jermaine and Hazel was married, even though the Jackson 5 was still a huge draw, doing, selling out concerts, doing all these TV shows, one thing was happening was the hits was not coming like they were used to. Besides Dance Machine, they was have like a hit miss, They were lucky to even make it to the top 20. But they were still relevant. They were still making money. And so and then Barry Gordon would allow the brothers to write their own music, and that's what all the brothers and Joe wanted, because they wanted to express themselves, and plus, way more money writing songs than actually singing it. And I guess Barry Gordon just didn't. He wanted to keep the brothers as teen idols, but Joe wanted to be grown. He wanted them to be what you call grown man. So Michael, even though he was not happy at the situation at Motown, Michael wanted to stay. But Jackie, Tita, and Marlon, they were ready to leave. So what happened was CBS, even though the Jackson 5 was having a problem with on the billboards, CBS wanted to revive their charts. CBS saw them as the Black Beatles. Just not another successful black group. He saw them as the next, or the Black Beatles. So the contract, because at Motown, their contract was like 2%. 2%. Well, 2 cents, I mean. So every record they sold was like 2 cents. That, no money. And they had to split that 6 ways, because Joe gonna get his cut. But CBS offered them between 25-30%, which was a huge jump. And that's when Michael started thinking to himself, like, well, he loved Barry, he loved Motown, but CBS was like giving off them 30%, which was a huge percentage. So Michael like, okay, I'm gonna go with CBS. And all the brothers thought maybe Jermaine, they thought he's holding back, but eventually he's gonna come through. But then Barry Gordon, Barry Gordon, if he feel like people going against him, Barry Gordon don't care who you are. Just to get revenge, just to make his point across, he will destroy families. And what happened was, Barry Gordon started telling Jermaine, I know your brother's leaving, but if you stay at Motown, I promise you, your solo career is going to go to the roof. And Jermaine was like, he was like, he told Jermaine, I'm going to make you bigger than Marvin Gaye. And at the time, Marvin Gaye was the man. So Jermaine, of course, we all know he stayed at Motown. And the reality of that situation was, I believe Jermaine came out with 7 albums at Motown. Only 2 of those albums went gold, which was, of course, was Let's Get Serious and Tickle Your Fancy. Everything else was a bomb. While the Jacksons, when they came with the CBS, they kind of got off to a rough start. But then, let me just take that back. Enjoy Yourself was a hit, but it wasn't like I Want You Back, an ABC hit, but it still kept them relevant. But it wasn't until they did the Destiny album, they had Shake Your Body Down to the Ground, Blame on the Boogie, where it's like they were revived again, But and then what? On top of that, Michael came out with Off the Wall, which was a huge. We all know, and everybody believed that was the time when Jermaine started feeling a resentment, And then Barry Gordon was telling Jermaine, look what you doing, look what Michael doing. Even though Let's Get Serious was a hit, it was a smash. But comparing to Off the Wall, that album, and Jermaine and Barry Gordon was saying, look what your brother doing, look what you doing, So that was really Barry Gordon started that beef, and then so Jermaine started seeing that maybe I should have went with my brothers, but what happened was Motown 25, Michael, all six brothers came together. And at first, the Jackson show stole everything, especially when Michael and Jermaine did the I'll Be There duet. It was all about Michael Jermaine for a second. Then, how can I put this? Michael did Billie Jean. That one night stole the show. No one knew nothing but that moonwalk, man. I mean, Mike was already larger than life before Motown 25, but when he did that Billie Jean, that made him took him to a whole new atmosphere. So Jermaine, he even though he was jealous of Michael, but he saw that I could benefit from this. I could benefit from Michael's success, so he asked Berry Gordy to release him from his contract, which Berry did because Jermaine wasn't, besides two gold albums, Jermaine was not a main factor to Berry Gordy. Because he already had Lionel Richie, he had Rick James, he had, and Diana Ross was still making hits and stuff, And who else he had? Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson. So Berry Gordy, he was like, "Oh, Jermaine, I still love you, my son. I still love you." So Aerostar, which is Clive Davis, they took Jermaine because it's not they wanted to capitalize off the Victory Tour. So Jermaine, he did come out with his album from Aerostar, which was called Jermaine, and because the whole Victory, they had him and Michael did that duet. Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming, which actually was a good song, by the way. And actually, that album, that Jermaine Jackson album, was actually, to me personally, y'all, it was better than the Victory album, y'all. It was actually better than the Victory album. And to all the fans saying that, why Michael never did a Thriller tour? Yes, he did do a Thriller tour. The Victory was the Victory tour. That was the Thriller tour, y'all. Just to get that out the way. And as Michael's career was surged, even though Jermaine album did go gold, but Michael Thriller album went 50 million copies. So once again, Jermaine was not hiding his jealousy. That's when he started being resentful towards Michael, because he started saying, if Michael was not born, it should have been me. But the reality is, if Michael was never born, all them brothers would still be in Gary, Indiana. The other brothers, yeah, they was kind of jealous, but they accepted the fact that Michael was the star, and as long as the money was coming in, they went along with it. Only brothers I said that wasn't jealous of Michael was probably really Tito. He was not jealous. Tito was just about, as long as them checks was coming in. And I don't think Jackie was jealous either. Jackie was about them. Jackie was chasing them women, though. Jackie was caring about them women, he didn't, as long as he got the money, he really didn't care about Michael being a star, But Jermaine, Jermaine, he was just hating on Michael, and it had a lot to do with Berry Gordy. He caused that, because the Jackson 5 left, he wanted some kind of retaliation. He said, if I can't keep them, I'm gonna destroy that family. So don't blame it on the sunshine, don't blame it on the moonlight. Blame it on the Berry, y'all. Blame Berry, y'all. It was him that broke him up, y'all. All right, y'all. Peace.